Welcome to another episode of Game Boy Roulette, where we take a look at randomly chosen games from the Game Boy library.
Donkey Kong Land 2. It's Diddy Kong's time to shine. 335 episodes, and it's finally time to talk about Donkey Kong. Actually, I think we talked about Donkey Kong Jr. once, but he barely counts. Donkey Kong is a character who, after a starring villain role in the first game, kind of fell by the wayside into a supporting role for years. It wasn't until 1994 and the debut of the excellent Donkey Kong Country that DK became a much bigger deal as a character. The Donkey Kong Country games were platforming excellence, all three being absolute peak examples of what made the Super Nintendo such a great system. Since then, Donkey Kong has had all sorts of great starring roles in games, from puzzle games to rhythm games to the recent smash hit Donkey Kong Bonanza, all because that beautiful monkey was brave enough to wear a tie. Anyway, on to this game where you don't play as Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong Land 2 is an interesting entry into the Game Boy library. You would imagine it would be a port of Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest, but it's actually a bit more complex than that. All three Donkey Kong Land games for Game Boy, all made by Rare and published directly by Nintendo, were using the same assets as Donkey Kong Country, but were unique games in terms of level design. So we won't be comparing this to Donkey Kong Country 2, we'll instead be talking about how much it holds up as its own singular entity, which works for me. I've never played Donkey Kong Country 2, or 3. In fact, I never played Donkey Kong Country 1 until a few years ago. Look, this is what happens when you didn't have an SNES as a kid. But even I still get a pang of nostalgia seeing this box art. The art style for the DKC games was so unique and advanced, it made them stand out so much against the rest. And a cool action shot of Diddy and Dixie, you have a winner. Ooh, this is a super game pack. Might have to have an addendum on this one. Who's ready for a monkey quest? Grab your bananas for Donkey Kong Land 2. I always liked how the Rare logo looked. Ooh. I can tell who those characters are. Donkey Kong Land 2. Music sounds... ooh, pretty good. Which you would expect from the Donkey Kong Country series. Which I think this technically fits in. Ooh, stage select. Or file select, I guess. Okay, it's looking like it's the same style as Donkey Kong Country, as to be expected. Oh. Don't mind me, just grooving to the song. And grabbing bananas. Okay. I thought Dixie would come out of there, but she appears to be in the bottom corner. Oh! Oh! You can switch that way. And Dixie can do that. Cool. So, I kind of want to first judge the game on the graphics, and it's looking pretty good. Oh. Bonus room. Greatest player who's ever lived finds bonus room. Throw. See ya. Diddy is a little pixelated, but this is really smooth motion for Game Boy. Oh, that's the end of the stage. It feels very much like a demake, which is kind of what Donkey Kong Land is meant to be, but not entirely. It's complicated. Now, I don't remember, but... oh. I don't know why I thought that would work. I don't remember if the original Donkey Kong Country 2 had you just switch characters, or if it was like the first one, where one tagged behind. Hang on, I want to check that. Just to see if they did something different or kept it faithful. But first, I want to see what's up here. Oh my gosh, I found a secret area. With one banana coin. Okay, give me a sec. Okay, indeed, this game does it differently. In the original, you do, in fact... oh, probably should have thrown that to bananas. You do, in fact, tag back and forth, rather than just have one character swap in and out like this, which I guess is probably a technical limitation. Yeah. Ow! Right, don't touch the bees. Ever. Like, the graphics I wouldn't call amazing, it's more the presentation, how smooth it is. They captured that, like, floatiness of the original. I'm also just really impressed with the character animation, too. I mean, look. For Game Boy, this is a lot of frames of animation. And I kind of think they sacrificed the backgrounds and everything for it. But honestly, I think it was the right call. Ooh, banana coin. Meow. Oh, I missed a letter. Shame. Forever. I'm out of here. Okay. The funny thing is, I actually really like the background the more I look at it. It feels like you're playing a game on, like, a pencil sketch. Why did I go down here? It definitely feels like they put almost all the graphical focus on Diddy and Dixie. And I think that was absolutely the right call. When am I gonna find an animal? Even, you know, like I've been making some comparisons to Donkey Kong Country 1, but I said I wanted to judge it by its own merits. The thing is, on its own merits, I'm enjoying this. It is, in fact, a totally good platformer. I like this. The music, they're really trying, and I appreciate that. They're really trying to match the music of the, oh my god, I'm a rhinoceros, finally. I just realized I'm not riding on top of the rhinoceros. I am the rhinoceros. Again, it feels like there's some corners they cut, but they were the correct corners to cut, if that makes sense. Can I do something with this? But now, I am genuinely disappointed. It's funny, I don't really have that much to say super insightful about this game, other than, yeah, it's really good. I think that Donkey Kong Country, the style, made the jump to Game Boy pretty darn well. It's certainly missing a couple things, but they put most of the focus on what they should have, which is the gameplay and the visuals. So the only stuff they cut out was just little extra bits, like having a Dixie trail behind you. I was gonna say if you like Donkey Kong Country, you should play this, but I kinda get the sense that if you like Donkey Kong Country, you already have played this. And if you haven't played Donkey Kong Country 2 or 3, like me, yeah, play this. Look, Donkey Kong always deserves more love. Even though, once again, he has yet to actually appear in this game. Even with Donkey Kong not here, his glorious presence is still felt. While I said I didn't want to compare this game to the SNES Donkey Kong Country games, the fact is it kinda has to be compared, given that they were very clearly trying to emulate that style. But in this case, it's a good comparison, because I think they did a fantastic job at shrinking the DKC style down. As I said, they put all the focus on the movement and gameplay to have it feel as fluid and floaty as the original games. That came with the drawback of some missing animations, graphical tweaks, and no more following character. But those were minor drawbacks, and worth sacrificing to make the game play as smooth as it did. So it's about as good of a demake style game as you can get. But let's put all that out of the way and look at the game purely on its own merits. Well, the game is also still great. It's a well-made platformer with quality animations and thoughtful level design, which is all you can really ask for from a game like this. I checked ahead and there are quite a few worlds with a handful of levels, so there's a good amount of game to be had. And with the DKC series liking adding in collectibles and secrets, it'll keep you busy for a while. It really is a spectacular example of what can be done when you port a game to the Game Boy and actually take the time to make changes to improve the experience on the handheld while not compromising what made the game so fun on consoles. I wish there were more ports that took cues from this game, instead of the many ports we got that were barely functional. So if you're a fan of the Donkey Kong Country games, or if you're just looking for a good platformer on the Game Boy, Donkey Kong Land 2 is the way to go. Whether you look at it as a port, a demake, or its own separate entity, it's just a well-made and fun game. Can't wait for 3 when Donkey Kong comes back. Oh, that's right, they replaced him with a baby. And that's all for another episode of Game Boy Roulette. Make sure to like the video, comment, and subscribe to follow the series as we continue to dig through the Game Boy vault. I'm Brian J, and I'll see you next time.